G'day guys, welcome back to a new episode of the Boundary Riders podcast, episode 114. Of course, we have a lot to talk about today. We seem to have a new front runner for the Tasmania's inaugural coach, which we'll be taking a look at. We also wanted to break down a couple of our suggestions for who we think should be taking over as the first coach of the club. The top 10 recruits so far this year, wanted to list them down for you guys. Of course, we'll get into the preview to round 11, the review for AFL Fantasy, and of course, a Overreact / Fair Call segment is back with my brother being here. So let's not waste any more of your time. Let's roll the intro and get straight into it. Welcome to the Boundary Riders podcast, your one-stop shop for all your AFL content needs.
He looks at his options and Jack Ginnivan says, boys, you brought me to the club to do just this.
But this guy has Flog written all over him.
From attack down, Reed sprints away from Petrarca, leaves him in his wake, takes a second bounce, takes a third. The sheer arrogance of Harley Reid. Finish the job, young man.
So let's get into the footy news from the week that was. So guys, as always, my brother, well, not always, he's here sometimes. He's here this week. I guess we should probably get this out of the way first of all, because it was a pretty sad week, all things considered. The sad passing of Adam Selwood took his own life, it seems. It's really tragic news. Only a couple of months before his brother Troy did this. Has done it's been pretty tough for the Selwood family. So all condolences go out to his family. Hopefully they can get through as much as they can, and support behind their family. A lot of people are behind them, close and whatever. But just wanted to make a quick message out as well. I mean, we kind of sit in a different. I've known people who have suffered with mental health issues in the past. We were kind of sitting in a little bit more of a unique situation regarding it because we're both identical twins. So we kind of could relate to an extent, the brotherly connection you can get. I mean, I know looking at each other, it sounds a bit cringe, but a lot of people don't really understand the identical twin connection someone can have with someone. So, I mean, it's much more than a brother, if that's so to speak. So for him to lose Adam, to lose his twin brother at the time, I mean, it must have been so tough for him. I did actually read some stories throughout the week regarding his speech during the funeral, and it was very heartfelt. And now unfortunately the Selwood family have to go through this all over again. But I mean, it's pretty obvious to say checking on your mates and stuff, and I guess that's I feel like you all need to do that all of the time. I don't think it should just be, when something like this comes into the news cycle, it should always be a thing that you need to check up on your mates, check up on your family, of course. And I mean, I know the big talking point over the last couple of weeks or months has been an AFL need to bring in a men's mental health round or a mental health round in general. I mean, I think that would be great, but I mean, it's got to be more than that as well. The AFL need to put more support for players because this is happening. I mean, once is too many, but the fact that this is happening, what's it been, nearly 3 or 4 players in the past 12 months, or previous players, 5 even, that have taken their own lives or have passed away. It's something the AFL really, it's probably the biggest issue the AFL faces right now, up there with concussion. There's so many issues, there's so many big issues in the game, but this is one of the really big ones. This is taking people's lives.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like when the news came, it actually did hit close to me. Like, obviously being a twin brother, it did actually come hit me more than I actually expected over the past week or so. Everybody's had some mental problems. There's been a lot of people in my life that have had mental struggles, including myself, that I haven't really been upfront about. And everybody goes through something. Everyone call it the silent killer. That people don't like to bring it up. People don't like to talk about their feelings, especially men these days. The stigma around it is, I think, getting better.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's getting better, but there's always more you can do.
And always check in on your mates, check in on your family, your friends, because there's someone out there that's.
I think also another thing you should point as well is, even if sometimes, I think as I've felt this in the past, like you feel like, oh well, probably someone's going through more than me, so why do I why is my issue so much? I mean, I think that's you need to. I mean, that's something that you need to get past and say, look, no matter there probably is someone going through worse than you, but that doesn't mean your pain is not valid.
In a way that your problems do matter.
Yeah,
it doesn't. It might in the whole scheme of the world. It might be this. You may think it's small, but it does matter because everybody deserves to be mentally happy.
Yeah,
and if someone is there to talk to, feel safe enough to do it.
Yeah,
someone will listen, and you should feel safe enough to do it. And we're men these days, like I said, are pushing through the barrier and opening up, and people should feel safe enough that they can be emotional and show their feelings.
Yeah, or their vulnerable side.
Yeah,
no, I 100% agree. So, overall, I wanted to bring that up first of all because it's been a tragic week in the, not only just the AFL space, but just in life in general. So, to the Selwood family, I mean, obviously we're a very small community here, but I'm sure everyone here pushes out the love to the Selwood family, and hopefully they're doing the best they can. And for everyone else out there, like I said, reach out to people you love, your friends, your family. If you can get professional help, that's always good as well. I've gone to professional help in the past and it has helped me. But that's sometimes it's out of the realm of possibility for some people. So the best thing you can do is reach out to your friends and family, and hopefully things will get better.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
But
But let's move into the episode, shall we? All right. So first of all, we've got a couple of news topics to talk about in the AFL space. So a couple of injury news. First of all, and this is not great news for me in AFL Fantasy, but we'll get to that in a moment. Yeah. Sean Darcy seems to be a test for the Dockers. Not great. I mean, that just takes away from Luke Jackson.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, shit ass. Well, he's playing. He could play this week. That's shit. Well,
yeah. Well, I fucking hate him.
I'll be honest with you. I think even Freo fans are probably thinking, fuck.
Well, that brings up the question. Obviously, Kane Corns took whatever the fucking Justin Longmuir said over the week and just was like, yeah, I was right, or whatever. Fremantle actually hate the 2-ruck idea. It's like, he didn't really say that.
People that think
I mean, I don't agree that the 2-ruck really works, to be said.
Like some people have said, 2 elite ruckman means you have no ruckman.
Yeah. I think that's a good Dan Gorringe quote, which is...
I think,
Yeah, so we've got a little bit of a segment regarding him a little bit later, but yeah, I think that's just, I don't know. I mean, what do you do with him? I mean, they had a couple of years ago, they had the opportunity to just get rid of him to Geelong, and they re-signed him.
They signed him for 4 years, and he's, I think, at the end of 2029.
Yeah, 2029 is the end of his contract. So, what do they do? Do they trade him off and pay out his contract to Geelong? Do they keep it and see what happens, or do they even get rid of Luke Jackson?
If I was a Freo, I don't know, board member, whatever you want to call it,
or the list manager,
list manager, I'm sending him to Geelong. And to be honest, if I was St Kilda, I would have looked at him more than Tom De Koning, if that was me, because he's not a first ruckman. He needs to be solo. Sorry, he needs to be a solo ruck. And Rowan Marshall's coming to the end of his career.
He's 30 odd now.
He's 30 odd. Darcy's getting up to, I think, his mid to late 30s. Mid to late 20s. Mid to late 20s. Sorry. And
I think Tom De Koning's still a good choice.
I think that, yeah, he will be a good choice. But also, I think there's a lot of other options that Freo have got besides just going to Geelong. I think there's a few other teams that possibly could go to.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think when this was only a couple of years ago we re-signed, it was before Sydney picked up Brodie Grundy. I remember this, and I was like, Sydney should look at him. And when Sydney inevitably picked up Grundy, and despite a pretty poor start to the year, he's had a couple of really good weeks.
Yeah.
So, other than that, though, I think Darcy would be a great for any club, really. The problem is, though, he's injury prone so much.
Yeah, that's what's probably in the last. Probably, to be honest, just before he signed that contract to now, he's played very little. Consistently.
He wouldn't have played more than 15, 20 games.
No, and you got to think, like I said, there's clubs out there that will be dying for a ruckman at the moment.
Especially for someone of his calibre.
And like even say Richmond, for example, they're going through a development phase, but Nick Hurst is nearly...
He'd be in his mid-30s now,
He's up there.
nearly.
So is he going to be there at your next premiership? Probably not.
Well, I mean, Richmond are going pretty well at the moment. They're in front of North at this stage, despite the loss.
Yeah. So you got to think about it. I do think that he's best to leave, and
Fremantle should persist with Jackson.
And he showed on the weekend that he's a ruckman, solo ruck, Jackson, and Paddy Voss or someone else can just pinch hit in the ruck.
Yeah, I mean, I think either Amos or Tracy can jump in there every now and then if they need a little bit of run, like a little bit of ball in the second quarter.
I think someone like an Amos needs to get more of the ball and maybe put him up the field a bit, chuck him in the ruck, and see what he can do and get it on the way back. So it'll be interesting. I don't think he will be there at the end of the year. Sean Darcy, I think he will move on.
I think that's the best for both. I think it's best for Fremantle to just continue on with Sean Darcy. They've also got a pretty decent second ruck at the moment in Liam Reedy, who's there, but he can't get a spot because of Darcy, of course. But if Jackson wants to go down, at least they still have a good second ruck if they needed to go for a guy. And
you don't want to be that team and keep Sean Darcy for another year or so, and then Cobbs are coming at Liam Reedy, and then you could lose two of them in the space of it.
Well, it's very interesting because we look back at Hawthorn's current ruck at the moment, Lloyd Meek.
Yeah.
Very similar situation. He was sitting behind Darcy for a few years, and then he obviously made the decision to leave. And Reedy, I mean, if Darcy was to stay, you look at it and you're like, I mean, why wouldn't I go as well?
Yeah, so
Lloyd Meek's currently one of the best ruckmen in the game. I mean, he's in top 5.
He's not Nathan Brown esque in what best.
Yeah, I don't think he's the best ruckman in the comp.
To be honest, I don't think he's even in the top 5.
Oh,
I don't think he is.
I mean, what you got? Gorn and Cameron right now that are the best.
Yep.
I'd say.
Cherry and Marshall.
Cherry, Marshall. I'd put him 5th. I mean, who have you got? Nankervis? No, I wouldn't put him in there. Brodie Grundy?
No.
Not this year at the moment. I mean, I'd probably put him up there.
No, I think he's in the top.
Luke Jackson as well.
I think, to be honest, he's 5th if he's a sole ruckman. That's the thing.
What, Luke Jackson?
Yeah.
You think he's 5th?
Luke Jackson, I think, is a close 5th. I just don't think that... I think Mick's close, I'm not going to lie. I think he's on the cusp like that, but I think that the top 4 is pretty much set. He's not Australian this year.
No, he wouldn't be all Australian. No. Yeah, Cherry. Well, to be fair though, Cherry had a pretty poor start. He's had a very good month or so.
Ever since I've got him in fantasy.
Yeah, of course. the most important thing in life. Well, of course.
As we'll talk about later, he did save me this week.
Yeah. All right. A couple of other injury concerns or injury updates. Nathan O'Driscoll seems he'll be a test this week along with Sean Darcy, so that would be good for the Dockers. Nathan O'Driscoll had a pretty good start to the year before getting an injury.
It was a bad week. He was consistently doing well for Freo, which was sad at the time.
Yeah, that he lost his... Well, yeah, hopefully he's back. But Nat Fyfe is only 1 week away. Does he come back into the side?
I don't know, because I think that him playing... the only role he can play in that team would be the danger role
the Dangerfield role up forward.
But it could work. I'm not going to lie, because this thing is that Shea Bolton's back in the team. He's back to consistent playing well.
Definitely played his best game.
Yeah, so it could work. And the thing is that they don't really... besides Tracy, Amos is not playing that well. Federick's hit and miss so far this season.
They could use him. Yeah,
they could use it. So I think he does get back into that team.
Yeah, I mean, at least you trial him up forward. You might as well. I mean, at the moment, Fremantle are up and down, so might as well give him a go.
Let's be honest, he could be that missing piece. He could be, and they could go on a run. They've got that team in them to do it.
Yeah, I think the next couple of years for Fremantle are going to be okay. It's just been a very disappointing start. I mean, it wasn't... If they didn't beat the Giants, there'd be a lot more negative talking points. So I think very well done for them to win on the weekend.
Oh, yeah. Like most people have lost trust in them. So bringing back a Brownlow medalist could change the tide, and they could go on that run.
Yeah, no, exactly. A couple of other injuries. Unfortunate news for Elliot Himmelberg. Was at the Crows for so long. Decided to move up to the Gold Coast, get a fresh start. Unfortunately, has done his ACL, so he's going to miss the rest of this year, maybe a little bit of next year as well. It's really unfortunate because it seemed like a great pickup, like a really underrated pickup in the off-season for the Gold Coast, but he just hasn't been able to get onto the field. He's been behind a couple of players in the pecking order, and now he's out with injury.
Yeah, I think it's a player that gives you a lot of depth. So when there is a few injuries, like if Ben King goes down, he was their next player up.
Yeah.
That would have given a go. So.
Yeah, I think that he would have been a good. I mean, I understand they wanted to play Ethan Reid and Jed Walter as those other keys, but we've obviously seen Damien Hardwick steer clear a little bit of Ethan Reid the last couple of weeks. Said he was rested, but then didn't play him the week after. So
he was managed.
He was managed for 2 weeks apparently. But so really unfortunate for him. I still don't know why he didn't decide to go to the Giants. It seemed like a perfect fit for them.
Yeah, well,
with his brother. I mean,
but the thing is, you got to look at them. Like they were probably putting all their money into a Cadman, Riccardi, and Hogan. They got Stringer.
Yeah.
Where does he really fit in that team either? So
I just think he's a very good forward. He's a good enough forward, and he's a good enough second ruck. And right now, Kieran Briggs does need that help.
To be honest, I think even Brisbane should have looked at him more than Sam Day, but. Yeah,
I mean, that's true as well. They could have gone with that. Interesting one here regarding Jeremy McGovern. So he's had some issues. Jeremy McGovern is being told to consult the AFL concussion panel for an assessment by an interdisciplinary group of experts. So I don't know if this is the exact same AFL concussion panel. I'm assuming it is, that dealt with Aiden O'Driscoll, sorry. He was the brother of Nathan O'Driscoll who got drafted to the Western Bulldogs, had a concussion issue. Yeah. Well, I was kind of telling the people, not just you, but anyway.
Well, I was trying to figure out who you were talking.
Aiden O'Driscoll, he was picked up by the Bulldogs a couple of years ago, got a severe head knock in a training session. Should have watched the video. Oh, the video's not out yet. There's a video coming up soon about the players who have had their careers ruined by injury. It's on the members if you want to watch it right now. Anyway,
Smooth.
I know, that was pretty good, eh? Anyway, he didn't play a game, and there was a concussion panel that he had to go to for them to determine if he's safe enough to play football, and they told him no. So I'll be interested to see if this plays out similar, because they've got to be so cautious on this now. And the thing is, if it comes back in a really bad... The worst case scenario, not worst case scenario, but the worst case for his AFL career is they tell him he can't play anymore. So it's interesting.
He's been a great player for West Coast, and it would be a sad ending to end his career if this was the case.
Yeah. Now, Jeremy, West Coast have came out with a statement saying Jeremy's health and well-being is our number one priority, and he is not currently advanced through the concussion protocols due to ongoing symptoms. That was from the general football manager, Gavin Bell. So the AFL, the club requests Jeremy's privacy at this time. So that's more than fair. I mean, it's when it does get to this sort of stage, though, you kind of think it's getting close. I mean, the thing is, if you're going to this extent, you think that it's probably near the end. You don't want to risk anything. So really unfortunate. This may be the way that Jeremy goes out, but overall, I mean, he's been arguably one of the best defenders in this last decade. I'd say he'd be up there. I mean, I still remember the grand final in 2018 when he took that mark. I mean, Collingwood looked like they're going to go down the other end and kick a goal, and then he basically set up the win.
He set it up, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, hopefully he does return, though, because it hasn't been confirmed just yet. And finally, more AFL fantasy drama. After the news of Jason Horne-Francis missing 4 to 6 weeks or so through his hamstring, Jack McRae today has been ruled out for 2 to 3 weeks with a fucking punctured lung. What? I mean, I thought it was just St Kilda who were out of breath for the majority of the contest, but it was just Jack McRae.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. So, punctured his lung in the game over the week. Won't play for at least, probably till after the bye.
Well, yeah.
At this stage.
Yeah, well, he spent the last 2 days in Perth, and now they're flying him back to Melbourne, Tuesday. And then he's back in hospital when he gets back to Melbourne, they think, for some precautionary tests. So Yeah, so I think that it's a very serious thing, and even when he comes back, it will be interesting what sort of role he will play for the next. Well, you'd think at least 2 or 3 weeks after that.
Yeah, I mean, do you think he even gets? I mean, from a punctured lung, I mean, do you get back after 2 or 3 weeks and have an impact?
Yeah, I know. It's like, and the thing is, like, who would you want the endurance that he has in the tank. Would
Yeah,
it be
he's
best
usually-
to give him maybe a month or a month off.
Yeah,
To just really.
yeah, give him 6 weeks to see what he does.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously we'll get to the AFL Fantasy later, but we actually don't talk about it because we will talk about it a little bit before it because it came out before, I came out after, but yeah, I mean, I think it's basically straight trade out, but hopefully he does okay. Which is more important, the football career rather than the AFL fantasy career. But only
Just a little bit.
only just. All right, let's move into the Tasmania Devils. So there's been some recent news come out regarding Nathan Buckley as the leading candidate for the Tassie job. So, of course, they come in 2027 expected at this stage. I don't know about the ground. Who the fuck knows? But they should be coming in 2027. That's the basic.
Yeah. This is basically just saying that if they when they get the ground and all that, everything goes to plan besides the coach.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
basically, best case scenario, they're looking at the next coach. Nathan Buckley seems to be the front runner. So in a recent, I think it was on SEN, it was in fact, when asked from Jared Healy if there's a chance that he would coach the Tasmania Devils, he said there was a chance, and he also said that the Devils have been extremely keen to advance. This is from John Ralph. They said they're extremely keen to advance talks. The Devils with Nathan Buckley, who has been seen as the strong favourite, for now. So I thought today we'd cover maybe 2 or 3 or even 4 coaching candidates and rank them on, most likely to least likely. So I've given my 3 best candidates for the Tassie job and then my smoky. So at number 3, obviously he's going to be leaving his job at the end of the year. I've gone with Ken Hinkley. At number 2, I've gone with Nathan Buckley. My number 1 pick, and maybe you seem a little bit biased, but I think John Longmire would be the best candidate for Tassie, and I'll explain why. I think all 3 of them would be good. I'll start with Ken Hinkley because he's 3rd. I think that at a starting, he's always been an emotional coach, and I think that as a starting a team, I think that's a great way to build culture. He built Port Adelaide from cellar dweller losers that were basically at the point of extinction to a relevant team again. So I think, all right, you're saying that now, but he brought you from, you don't even, if you sat there, if you were 10 years ago, before he was there, you'd be sitting there going, I would like to just win a couple of games in the year. You made finals nearly every year under Ken Hinkley.
Yeah, you're right. But after the last 3, since about the 2020 season, when we were pretty much at the top, but we couldn't kick our way to the grand final, it's kind of been like, this is probably more at Koshy than it is at Ken, but he should have moved on.
I think, he should have been moved on at the end of the last season, obviously. And maybe there'd be a little bit less angst around it. But now every single Port fan is like, just get rid of him, get in Josh Carr if we have to do it now.
Yes.
This isn't about Ken, though. But anyway, I think that he would be a great starting coach. We've obviously seen him being able to build a squad, build a team as well that's been able to beat up teams above their weight. Port Adelaide have always been, at least for the last 2 years or so, they've been on the list side of things. They haven't been very good. But they've been able to make prelim finals, make finals series, So
he's always been on the winning side of the ledger.
Yeah,
since
he's been a very good home and away season coach. Yeah. And yes, the finals haven't been great. We obviously know that. But if we're starting a team out, I think that Ken Hinkley would be a good candidate for them.
Yeah.
On Nathan Buckley, I do think he's a good coach. I think that we did see that in the years gone by. He was very good at Collingwood, but didn't get them to the pinnacle, obviously. I would be interested on the Nathan Buckley side, though. I think he is probably second best in my opinion. But could he coach another team? He's been so heavily Collingwood for his whole life. Could he coach another team? Could he be another team's, whatever? I mean, he left the Brisbane Bears after 1 year, went to Collingwood. It's been Collingwood his whole AFL career, his whole playing career. Then he went to assistant coach of Collingwood. Did he do anything before that? I don't think he did.
Think he did, no.
So he was an assistant, then became the head coach of Collingwood, and now sits in the media and protects Collingwood. Not that, come on,
I think it's a little different for, him. If he was coaching any Victorian team, I don't think he'd ever do it. Any vacancy in a Victorian team. I don't think he'd ever do that because of his love for Collingwood. But I think it's a little different for a first team in Tasmania. Like, whoever the inaugural coach is, it's a huge deal. So I think it's a bit different. I think Brendan Gale has a lot to do with it. Like, the way that he's obviously come out and said they want like his attributes as a coach.
Yeah.
Nathan Buckley. I think there's a difference there. And I don't think it's going to make a difference if it's he's been a Collingwood man his whole life.
All right. Well, I mean, I think that that's more than fair. Now, the reason why I put John Longmire at number 1 is because I think he's shown basically both ends of the coaching scale. He's been at Sydney for so many years with Paul Roos. He's obviously seen the worst of the worst around the Sydney times to the best of the best when he saw the premiership in 2005. And when he won it in his second year as coach in 2012, he's also had to build through a rebuildish era. But he also helped build that list from, the end of it towards 2017 to go back down for a few years to then come back up. And then we're back to, a pretty decent spot. Obviously, at the moment, we're fucking, 13th, but we won last week, so we're pretty good now. We're back on. Premiership. Brisbane were down at this stage, this time last year, so we're any chance. But what I mean is he's been at both ends of it. I think that overall he could... Now, obviously, he hasn't done from a starting of a club, which I mean is obviously very difficult, which we'll get to with our Smokey in a minute, but I think that John Longmire as a whole would be the best of the best. I think that he's coached through different eras of football as well. It was a very heavy contested stoppage sort of game back in the mid 2010s or whatever when Sydney won the premiership. But then he was able to evolve his game plan to be a lot more of a faster attacking game. Where you saw Sydney last year were very much, pressure side, speed of ball movement with good foot skills. Yeah. So I think that he's been able to play different roles and has shown different versatility and can work with what list he's got. And I think he's also been the head coach of a team that's built a team. And I think obviously with the Sydney culture, I know I'm just flogging off Sydney, but the Sydney culture's been around for years now. It's always been highly documented. I think that that's a great build. So that's me. On my Smokey though, and it's someone that I don't really think I've heard much about, it's Leon Cameron. He's still in the AFL. He's with the Swans right now, and that's not the reason why I'm picking him as a Smokey. But he was with the Giants from day one, basically. He was there as an assistant for a few years under Kevin Sheedy, and he was there with the new team. He's been with a team that's from the beginning, from the outset, and he obviously became their head coach a couple of years after. 2014 he took over, and obviously was there when they won in their first grand final, their first final series. This guy could be. I think he should be someone that's been taken a look at. And I mean, he's very good in the years for the Giants as well. They were always pretty successful. They're always up there when they got their first final series 2 years after he became the head coach, and they made finals every year until 2020 when he missed out, and that's when he lost his job. 2021, I think he lost his job. But I think that Leon Cameron could be a chance. I think he's built a team from the ground up. He's been there from the start to almost the pinnacle. Yeah. So I think that's why Leon Cameron's a bit of a smoky chance for me. I think that's where they could be looking at. I think at this stage it looks like it's leaning towards Nathan Buckley, which is okay. I don't have a real issue with that. But I think that personally for me, if I was leading a team right now, from coaches that won't have a job, who would be looking for a job if they were looking for one, because I think they're going to need one. If they are to come in perfect timing at 2027, they are going to need one probably, I think, next year.
They're saying that that's when they want to make the announcement at the end of this year to the start of next year.
Yeah, I think that's when you kind of want it. So have you got a couple of different candidates you've thought of?
I'll just point it out there. My number one is probably going to be Nathan Buckley. I think that's pretty obvious. Especially the last couple days. My two two other candidates are Chris Fagan and is Adam Simpson.
Oh, okay.
I think Adam Simpson's a bit different because the fact is that I know he's not going to go back to Perth and do any of that. I think he likes the media, and we've seen him get to the pinnacle, and we've seen him have to try and rebuild, even though that maybe the West Coast board didn't want to really do it. But I think if he wants to do it, I think he can do it.
Yeah.
Chris Fagan, I think if Brisbane the next 2 years will be up there, does he have the appetite to want to go back to his home state and start that again? I think he does. I think he may want to do it.
Yeah.
So
He has said in more recent times, though, that he is most likely that this would be his only coaching role.
yeah.
So that is something. But I do agree. And it would be fitting if it was a Tasmania local
That's
who
what
was
I
the head
think.
coach.
Yeah, I think part of you have to kind of think of maybe the fairy tale thing in that.
Yeah, I mean, imagine like the first Tassie team, first Tassie coach. The first Tassie coach is Tasmanian. The inaugural captain is Matt Rao. No, I'm trying to think of a Tasmanian. Probably Riley Sanders or a Colby McKercher or someone like that, you'd think.
What's his name? Was it? It's not
Robbie Fox. I mean,
the
the inaugural captain.
It's not Robbie Fox. It's
Seth Campbell.
Yeah.
Is he Tasmanian? Is he?
I think yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I reckon he'd be good. That's why he's not leaving Richmond till. But
To be fair, I think he has said that he wants to stay at the Tigers no matter what. But I mean, when you get that huge pay packet in front of you.
Yeah, I think you kind of like, yeah, I'll go.
Yeah.
And my Smokey, he's been in the AFL coaches boxes for many years and had a chance. 10 years ago in Justin Lepage.
Okay, so he's been at Brisbane for a very long time. He was at Brisbane coach for a while.
Yeah. Then he's been an assistant at Richmond and Collingwood.
He's at Collingwood now.
Yeah. So I think if you're looking at it, I think he's done a lot in the last I don't even remember when he took over when he was at Brisbane. 10 years ago at least.
Yeah, I would have been probably even longer than that, I think, because when Lee Matthews took over, stepped down, Michael Voss did it for a couple of years, and then Justin Lepage came over for a couple of years, and then eventually, I think it was then Chris Fagan. So it would be around 10 years, I would say.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I don't mind that idea. I mean, I think they would. I mean, I don't mind the Smokey idea. I think that they would want to go with someone who's done a little bit more head coaching more recently.
Yeah.
But I mean, if they did want to go with a head coach, because they are going to go with someone who's coached before.
Yeah.
That's pretty obvious.
That's obvious, yeah.
Yeah. I don't mind that call, though. I mean, I think that mine's better, but I don't mind that call, though. I didn't
you didn't think about it.
No, I didn't think of... That was out of left field. I was thinking you were going to say someone like, Chris Scott. It's like, yeah, I mean, fucking Chris Scott's not...
Like, nah. I don't think he'll want to leave Melbourne.
Yeah.
He's got too many other jobs that he's got.
Oh yeah,
what's
he a finance broker or something now?
even
Something
know
fucking
anymore.
stupid. Yeah, I mean,
The AFL just tick that off as much as they do their.
Chris comes in an hour a month to fucking tick off a paycheck or something. Oh yeah, I was there for an hour, boys. Yeah,
he
you
ticks
get
off them books and then he goes to the AFL. It's like, yeah, our books are fine, tick that off as well.
Yeah, Chris Scott's like, do I get 6 figures a year or 7 figures a year for this job? And they're like, just write down your own paycheck. Yeah, that's all right. And I get paid $400K a year at Geelong. Yeah, that's fair enough. That's all good. Yeah, fucking what a shady shit is that. Anyway, I think that's pretty good place to leave that. So now let's move to recruits, the best recruits of the year so far. I'll go through this pretty quickly. Me and you both went over the week. Channel 7 actually posted their top 10 recruits of the year so far. They went with number 1, Matt Kennedy, number 2, Bailey Smith, 3, Jack McRae, 4, John Noble, 5, Josh Battle, 6, Alex Neil-Bullen, 7, Daniel Rioli, 8, James Peatling, 9, Nick Haynes, and 10 with Harry Perryman. So, first of all, I think Matt Kennedy's had a great year. I think that's pretty safe to say. Bailey Smith's in Brownlow form.
Yeah.
How the fuck is he not number 1?
At the moment, he's probably... in the last 2 weeks with Nick Dacos being underdone, seems like, I think he's leading it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's leading the Brownlow, Bailey Smith. So...
Yeah, I don't know how the hell they put... I get that Matt Kennedy's had a very good year. He's probably had a career best year. But, I mean, he's not in Brownlow form.
No.
Anyway. So, I'll give you my top 10 first, and then I'll name yours. So, my top 10 best recruits of the year so far are Bailey Smith, number 1. Number 2, Matt Kennedy. Number 3, Josh Battle. 4, John Noble. 5, Neil Bullen. 6, Daniel Rioli. 7, Nick Haynes. 8, Tom Barras. 9, Luke Parker. And 10, Jack McRae. So pretty similar top. We've got the same. 2 of the top 3 is the same. Jack McRae for me has dropped down to about 10. I think he's had a good year, but I don't think he's been better than those 9 other players, in my opinion.
I think he started well, but the last couple of weeks he's been just around the mark. He hasn't done anything brilliantly.
Yeah.
He's had, I think, 1 good game in the past 5 weeks.
Yeah, and I mean, he's always been an accumulator, but his best is when he's got clearances and getting the ball forward. And for Saints, it's always hard for them as well, but he hasn't really been doing that ball. He hasn't even been in his ball winning best, let alone his best.
To be honest, I think it was the game against the game against Port Adelaide. He just went down in my opinion. That game when they hit their peak, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, as a whole, though, they have been pretty down for a lot of the last month or so. I'm surprised that players like Tom Barrass or Luke Parker didn't get into their top 10 either. I think Luke Parker, he may not have the career best numbers or whatever, but I think he's been really good for North Melbourne's leadership this year. He's definitely given them something in the midfield and up forward. And I think he's been their best recruit so far.
That's why they've only won 2 games.
Well, he has been their best recruit, I think, out of the 3.
The amount of recruits they've got, of course he is.
I think he has.
Over Caleb Daniel and who was the other one?
Jack Darling.
Well, yeah, of course he is.
I just think that Luke Parker's had a very underrated year so far. I think he's definitely done some good things, and I think that he's definitely helped out.
I think if they were winning as much as what people were expecting, they would have taken more notice of it.
Yeah.
I think if they would say like 4 or 5 wins already this season, maybe they feel like Luke Parker, that's the recruit of the year, or close to.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair though, I mean they've been close in a couple of games too, and I mean I know North Melbourne probably be like, shut the fuck up, we haven't won games, that's what we're here for now.
Well, that's what the media thinks. Like, they've got close to a few games. Like, yeah, that was like they're 6 years into a rebuild. Where's the turn?
Yeah, Richmond nearly beat them on the weekend.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I personally think the North Melbourne can rebound. I think they'll have a very good end of the second half of the season.
But
I think they can get. I mean, what's the last few years they've got like 3 or 4 wins. I think they can go to 5 or 6.
Well, I'll ask you a question. Do they get out of the bottom 4?
No, but I think the reason for that is there's the top 14 teams, top 15 teams are much better than the bottom 4 teams. There is a huge. I think it goes right now. I'm thinking St Kilda are going to finish in the bottom 4 with Richmond. I honestly think Richmond can finish in front of St Kilda at this stage, but we'll get to that in a minute. We may get that into a future episode. I think Richmond are better than them, but I think it will go. St Kilda, Richmond, North Melbourne, West Coast. I think that's the bottom 4, and I think the rest of the teams in the competition are a class above. Yeah. Even Essendon, who are probably around that part, around 13, 14.
I think they've won enough games to realise that they can just have that day that it all clicks. Like we've seen so far. Yeah,
and I think we've obviously seen Melbourne the last couple of weeks be really good.
Yeah,
so they can.
Like they've turned it.
Sydney, I mean, if they had their best team, if they had better players in, if they had Errol Goulden, Cal Mills, Tom Papley, a couple of others, I think they would be a lot better off where they are. I don't think they'd be very much high. I think they'd probably be around 8.
I think they'd win maybe 2, maybe even 3 of their games that they've lost.
Yeah, I think they were saying last week, they were saying that Sydney's expected win-loss ratio at this stage would be 5 and 4. So it should be a lot better off. But I do think that, I think that if Sydney get players like Mills should be back either this week or next week, and then they've got a couple of others potentially coming back around 15, 16, round whatever.
After the bye,
yeah. Around after the bye. They can get a couple of wins. So I think that's probably another team that pushes up. Like, what other... the bottom 4... I don't think North Melbourne can finish out the bottom 4, but I do think they can end their season strongly and probably finish around 15th.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's just me anyway. But back onto the recruits. Another one as well, Nick Haynes as well. I think there's been very... very poor start, but he's definitely came on in the last few weeks and shown why, he was an All-Australian player, why he's one of the most highest paid players in the game only a few years ago. So he's been a good pickup for Carlton. Other than that, I think John Noble, really underrated season so far. I know some people would say he's been rated pretty highly, but I think he's been better than fucking Dan Houston.
Oh, 1,000%. And it's amazing to think that it happened like that.
Yeah, I mean, basically he was traded out for Dan Houston, if you think about it. I mean, he was traded to the Gold Coast. Port Adelaide got rid of him but I mean, you think about it, they replaced John Noble with Dan Houston, and Noble's had a better year. So I think he's had a very underrated year so far. I think, let's have a look at a couple of players that you had different to me. I will say, though, James Peatling's had a good year, but I don't think he's been in the top 10. I mean, I've liked James Peatling. I don't mind him. He's had a couple of good tagging roles. You've put him at 9th. I just don't think he's been exceptional. I don't think he's even been top 10 worthy. I'd put him around 12 or 13.
Yeah, I think it's the fact is that the Crows have been so good that they're like, oh, well, they've brought in those players, they have to be pretty good recruits. But I can see why people think that he's not there.
Yeah. And one as well, you've put one player right at the end. I don't know if this is just Port bias, but Joe Richards. Is there a reason why you want to put him there?
Because the fact is that when he's been in the team, I think he's done more team effort than any of the bloody other players in that team.
Yeah.
In some games, I think the game against Hawthorn, he set the tone so early in that game. He's showed more bloody pressure than any bloody Port player in
that forward line.
And when it's such a young player, for us to take a huge punt on it, like, let's be honest, we got rid of him for Dan Houston. I'll be honest with you.
You got Jack Lukosius as well.
Well, he's been injured since round 3.
Yeah, so hard.
But apparently. I think that, to be honest, Joe Richards has probably played better than Dan Houston.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't mind it. So your top 10 was Smith at number 1, Kennedy 2, Noble 3, Battle 4, Neil Bullen 5, Rioli 6, McRae 7, Haynes 8, Peatling 9, and Joe Richards 10. So you've only got 2 different to me. I put Barras and Parker in. You put Peatling and Richards in. So basically the last... I put Barras at 8. But yeah, I don't mind your list either. Joe Richards, I do... When I've seen Port Adelaide play this year, he has given something. Yeah, so... But I think Dan Houston's definitely a disappointment.
Who do you think the worst recruit's been? Like, I'm not going to say like Elliot Himmelberg, who has to play the game. A player that's been playing most of the game.
Even Dan Houston hasn't played a lot of. He's played more than half. I don't want to say Dan Houston, but out of the players who were expected to do great things, he's probably up there as like the most disappointing. I wouldn't say the worst, because that makes it sound so bad, but he has been pretty disappointing so far. He hasn't had that full on, because he even had it. Well, I would be interested to see how many disposals he's averaging this year or meters gained, because that was such a big attribute he had at Port, was his distribution around the ground, but also his you'd have 25 a game, and he would give you positional advantage on the field.
Yeah.
So. Have you got a choice of what you'd say is like?
I think Isaac Cumming hasn't really. I think he's trying to establish his role in that Crows side. I think he's done a couple of good things, but I think that's he's had a. I think he's had a pretty underwhelming season so far. But
yeah, I think that's fair.
I think Dan Houston's pretty close to it as well, but I think it showed in games like against Port, the game he played a couple of weeks ago, why they got him and how good he can be.
Yeah. But, looking at it, I just had a look now. He's only averaging 18 touches a game, which isn't a lot for him. His marks is pretty low for him with only 3.7, so basically 4 a game. His best game so far this year, I think, was against Port Adelaide. But looking at his career stats, he's averaged around 20.
Yeah. So,
he's not that far off, but... we could. I'm not going to go through a deep dive of Dan Houston's stats, but it just looks like that he's had he hasn't had that impact.
Yeah, the impact that maybe it's the fact is he's playing. Well, let's be honest. I'm a Port supporter, and I'll say it. He's playing with more stars than he did at Port.
Yeah.
In the last couple of years, really.
Yeah, he's probably got more competition.
Yeah,
it's probably the fact.
Like when you got to think, you're playing with like both the Dacos brothers. You're playing with Maynard and Moore.
Quaynor as well.
Quaynor, I'm talking about, more in the back line than anything.
Well, Quaynor's in the back line.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about. The people around the back line. I'm talking about the midfielders.
Yeah.
But I think he's actually come into the midfield the last couple of weeks for...
the Pies.
I've seen him in a few CPAs so far. So I think maybe even that's trying to figure out how to use him through the midfield as well. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, so... That's pretty much all we got for that, guys. Make sure to let us know down below your best recruit of the year or your most disappointing. But let's move into the preview, of course, to round 11. So, big couple of games coming up. Match of the round, definitely the Bailey Smith grudge match.
Well,
seems like he may not play. If he doesn't play...
That would be hilarious.
If he doesn't play, I'm calling biggest pussy watch of the planet. He's talking all this big game. Unless he's fucking got shot, he better be playing this fucking game.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
I think it's all for theatre. I think
but all the Geelong staff are in on it.
I think what's going to happen is he's going to be called out on Wednesday night. They're going to not even put him on the emergency list, but as the game starts, they're going to say, "And here comes Bailey Smith," and he's going to come out of the stands all by himself. He's going to fly onto the stadium and say, "I'm in, boys," and the AFL are just going to let it go because of the theatre. That's what I'm banking on that.
It's just another fine because, you know, they just want the money.
Yeah, he comes in flying with the birds out.
Yeah.
He comes out with the birds. That would be insane. That's how it should happen. That's what I hope happens. But yeah, anyway, let's get into the preview to round 11.
And of course, we have to start with the Bailey Smith grudge match. Geelong up against the Bulldogs down at the Cattery Thursday night. What a great way to start off round 11. So of course, this grudge match has been ignited in the last couple of weeks since Bailey Smith made a remark regarding the Bulldogs playing in front of 5,000 in Ballarat when he was playing in front of 82,000 at the MCG. All things considered though, I think the Dogs are in much better form than the Cats right now. The Dogs have won 4 of their last 5 games. The only loss is coming up against the Gold Coast up in Darwin, where the Gold Coast tend not to lose there. Now, the Cats have been a pretty inconsistent team so far this year. Over the last 5 games, they have gone win-loss, win-loss, win. And I think there is a massive loss, of course, for the Cats that Dangerfield will be missing at least a few weeks with a hamstring injury. Right now, I think the Bulldogs are honestly the best team in the competition, probably just behind the Magpies. Maybe the Suns will be in front of them as well, but in my opinion, I think Dogs are probably the second best team in the competition going at the moment. Even though this game is being played down at the Cattery, I'm going with the Dogs. I can't go against them right now. Their midfield is so versatile. You've got the likes of Bontempelli, who's just all the class, Liberatore, who's that clearance gun, and Ed Richards, what a season he's putting together right now. The most score involvements from any player in the AFL. And I think their forward line as well has been pretty good so far this year, considering even when Tassie went down, they're still scoring pretty regularly, and their midfielders are starting to score as well. So overall, I just don't see how the Cats are going to be able to stop all of their avenues to goal. And the Cats just, like I said, they've been very inconsistent. And at the moment, they're kind of due for a loss if they're going win-loss, win-loss. It is down in Geelong, but even then, the Bulldogs won down there last year. So it's not exactly a really daunting task for the Dogs to go down to the Cattery and win a game. So overall, I think the Dogs are in the hottest of form right now, and I can't pick against them. However, I will say, I think Bailey Smith will have a massive performance in a losing side. I think Bailey Smith probably, I'll put in a prediction, 35 touches, and I'll go with a goal. But other than that, I think that the Bulldogs win it. After that, I think it's a pretty intriguing game, this one. The Carlton up against the Giants. The first game on Saturday at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Like, my God, it's basically in the morning, this game. I don't know why that's happened. But anyway, looking at both teams, Carlton's best has been very good. Once they hit a small roadblock or any sort of roadblock in a game, they fall to a heap. And on the Giants, despite their great win against the Cats a couple of weeks ago, they have been one of the most disappointing teams so far this year. I mean, people put them as premiership favourites at the start of the season, and after a couple of rounds, I had them around that point. But since then, they've been disappointing, and they're sitting right now teetering in 8th spot. They're out of the top 8 teams in the competition. Most people, including myself, see the Giants as the team that are going to fall out pretty soon. So right now, the Giants, not in the greatest position. Now, granted, they do have a lot of injuries, but I don't think they should be this disappointing at this stage of the season. Now, on a way to win this game, I think it's going to be purely on method. I think if the Giants can get the link-up play, their Orange Tsunami game plan going, I think they win this one. They'll be too quick for the Blues. However, if Carlton can get the ball into stoppage, keep it contested in the guts, then maybe I can see the Blues winning this game. So, with all that being said, under the lid, I'm picking the Giants. I think the ball movement will be too good for Carlton. I think they have to respond after a very disappointing performance last week against Fremantle. And if this was at the MCG, I'd be picking Carlton. But at Marvel Stadium, the Giants just seem a little bit more quicker around the ground, and I don't think Carlton can stop that. So that's why I'm going with them. Next up, we have probably one of the games of the round. I know Geelong Bulldogs will rule the headlines, but this one's going to be a very interesting contest. The Hawks up against Brisbane. So this game, some people may say it's pretty straightforward for the fact that it's at the MCG, but I actually think this could go either way. Now, the Hawks have a great record against the Brisbane Lions, and being at the MCG, it makes for a tougher contest for Brisbane. They've had their struggles at the ground before the final series last year. And of course, Brisbane haven't won a game in their last 2 outings. Draw to North Melbourne and to a loss to Melbourne. So 2 teams they really should be beating. So really looking all at it, the Hawthorns should go and win this game pretty comfortably. However, I think that Hawthorns' recent record reads a little bit of a false tale. Now what I mean by that is, over their last 5 games, they've won 3, which is pretty decent in theory. However, those 3 wins have come against West Coast, Richmond, and Melbourne. And we know that Melbourne game, they only won it in the last quarter. Melbourne were probably the better team for the first 3 quarters of the game. And the 2 games that they've had either side of those are against Geelong and Gold Coast Suns. And now, granted, the Gold Coast is up in Darwin. It's hard to win up there. We already know that. And looking at last week as well, I don't think they were that good. I think that they stayed in the game for as long as they could. But overall, I think the Suns had a pretty strong handle on the game for the majority of the contest. So I kind of think that the ledger of the Hawks lies to an extent. With all that being said, though, I am going to go Hawthorn. I think that at the MCG, they've got a good record against Brisbane. That's where I'm sitting right now. I can't tip Brisbane in their form that they're in. But honestly, I think this could go either way. If Brisbane can play like they did in that final series, I think it may be the first time they played at the MCG this year, or their second time, I think. So they may be able to find some form. But right now, with the form that Brisbane are in, I can't pick them at this stage. Now, the final game we're going to be taking a deeper dive preview into is St Kilda up against the Gold Coast Suns. Now, I wanted to take a look into this game a little bit more because I think it is a bit of a danger game for the Gold Coast. Granted, the Saints just lost the game against the worst team in the competition, while the Suns came out and have won their last 2 games pretty convincingly. However, this game is being played at Marvel, and as we all know, Dimmer Hardwick doesn't like playing under the roof. Now, I think the Suns simply have to win this game. Now, they did lose against Richmond, nearly a month ago now at Marvel, which was a shock loss. But considering the ladder positions, the form, and the personnel on the ground for both sides, the Suns simply have to win this one. And I think they should win it pretty convincingly. Now, I will be tipping the Suns because I just think there is absolutely no chance St Kilda should be allowed to win this game at all. However, my brother's leaning on the other side of things. He has picked St Kilda. He has basically gone for the reason that Damien Hardwick does not like Marvel Stadium. And, I mean, I can't argue with that tip. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people will go and tip St Kilda this week. And on another side of it as well, they can't play as bad as they did last week against the West Coast Eagles once again. So, St Kilda like Marvel Stadium. I think there will be a bit of a response from the Saints. But the Gold Coast, if they're going to be considered a team that are maturing, they should be going to Marvel Stadium winning this one by 30 plus points. At the absolute minimum, they should be winning this one by 30 plus points. So let's get into our full tips for round 11. So my tips are the Bulldogs to beat Geelong, Essendon to beat Richmond, the Giants to beat Carlton, Hawthorn to beat Brisbane, Collingwood to beat North Melbourne, Fremantle to beat Port Adelaide, Adelaide to beat West Coast, Melbourne to beat Sydney, and the Gold Coast to beat St Kilda. And my brother's tips for round 11 are the Bulldogs to beat Geelong, Essendon to beat Richmond, the Giants to beat Carlton, Hawthorn to beat Brisbane, Collingwood to beat North Melbourne, Freo to beat Port Adelaide, Adelaide to beat the West Coast Eagles, Melbourne to beat Sydney, and St Kilda to beat the Gold Coast Suns. And we will get to our certainty picks now. My certainty pick for this week is Adelaide to beat the West Coast Eagles. Of course, Adelaide losing to Collingwood last week. And my brother's certainty tip is Essendon to beat Richmond. Of course, the Bombers losing to the Dogs last week. But finally, guys, let's get to our AFL tipping ladder for the channel. We didn't get to see it last week because I had to rush the video a little bit, but we will take a quick look at it right now. And Leviticus, after using his Joker a couple of weeks ago, has skyrocketed into top spot with a 7-point lead over second spot, the boy from SNB, who has used his Joker as well. Right now, I'm sitting in 11th spot. Haven't used my Joker just yet, but I had a very poor week. Only 4 tips, one of the lowest out of the whole comp. So really disappointed by that performance from me. Needed to do better to stay in touch. I may use my Joker in the next couple of weeks or so. So to try and catch up a little bit, but I'm going to have a pretty good Joker around to even keep in touch with Leviticus at this stage. Now, my brother is sitting in 15th spot. He did use his Joker last week and only got 10. He's sitting in 58 tips. He's 14 off the pace of top, and he's used his Joker. So I'm sitting at the same amount of tips as my brother, and I've not used my Joker. So a little bit of a ha-ha to him, but nonetheless, I'm sure he'll probably... I mean, at least he's not in the bottom 10... At least he's not in the bottom couple like he was the last few weeks. I think he was like in 20th spot out of 25 or something. So he's jumped up a little bit, but he's had to use his Joker just to get there. So not a very good run from tipping from my brother.
So now let's get to Bro's bets. So, of course, my brother's actually here for the betting segment this week. So you've got the regular one that you put out. Did you even post the betting thing last week?
I completely forgot about it on Thursday.
So he's gay kept the...
I was more interested in actually placing the bets on every other game this week than actually doing it.
Did you get... on the one that you... Because people on the podcast would have seen it, but you didn't actually post it on your page. Did any of them win?
No.
Oh, okay, well, that's good. Because
the fact is that I had my outside the boundary bet on over 206 points. The over-under market in that game was 100. It was 203 or something.
Yeah.
One more goal, I would have got it.
That was in the goal.
Sorry. The over-under was 200 in the game. One goal even wouldn't have done it. Only 7 points in that game.
Yeah. Oh, it was the Gold Coast Hawthorn game, wasn't it? Yeah.
The BS game.
The BS game.
Well, no, because the over-under market always goes the over. So I went 200 because every other game's been over 200. But I was like, I needed something that actually has a lot of big odds on it. So didn't happen.
Yeah. All right. So do you have an exclusive for the podcast this week?
Yeah, my certainty bet is the the line for the Crows Eagles game. Whatever it is, I don't know what it is, but I'll take the Crows line for that game. I think, yes, the Eagles won this week, but that's their high. That was their premiership. They're not winning another game for a long more.
Well, they're not winning at Adelaide Oval.
They won't win. They won't win another away game this year. They won't win an away game this year.
Do you? I mean, the games against the Crows have been absolute floggings. Do you think this will be a 100+ win to the Crows? I think so.
I think it will be. You can, like I said, whatever the line is for the Crows game, take whatever the Crows line is, because that's the safest bet in this week.
So that's not a part of your other bet, the rest of the bets, is it?
No.
So we're going with a certainty bet of the over market on the Crows, no matter what it is.
Whatever the line is, whatever it is. I haven't checked it, but I know I'll take it.
If you've got a house, put your mortgage on it at this point. You're just gonna whatever you're getting your paycheck this week for the month, put that on it.
Yeah.
You're gonna double it at this point. Double it.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
At this stage, that's all you want to do. But for now, let's get into my brother's bets for round 11.
Hey guys, let's get into round 11. As always, we will start with our Thursday night same game multi. Geelong v Bulldogs down at the Cattery. First leg is Max Holmes for 20+ disposals. Second leg is Sean Manor for 15+ disposals. Third leg is Ollie Dempsey to kick a goal. Fourth leg is Joel Frazier for 15+ disposals. And the final leg is Lockie McNeil to kick a goal, valued at $3.50. Then we'll get to our certainty bet this week. I'm taking Luke Davis-Uniacke for 25+ disposals against Collingwood, valued at $1.42. Finally, we'll get to our outside the boundary bet. This week I'm taking Zach Merritt for 35+ disposals against the Tigers, valued at $4.60. And as always, guys, gamble responsibly.
So now let's get to our AFL Fantasy review. So, of course, we have our regular posting on Tuesday afternoon of the AFL Fantasy review. Basically, you can disregard the trades because I've had to change them because of all the injuries. The Jason Horne-Francis trade has been changed for me. I've got Luke Jackson and Isaac Rankin because I also had to get rid of Jack McRae. Those are my trades at the moment. They could probably change at this point. Who the fuck knows how many more players could be out. Did you see Nasai Wanganeen Miller could also be out this week?
Yes, I know. I could have 4 out because they could say that Bailey Smith is out. Jason Horne-Francis is out. McRae is out.
Yeah. Who else? Jason Horne-Francis is already out. McRae, Jason Horne-Francis, Jaden Short. Yeah, I mean...
I was so banking on just getting in the top 10,000 this year. I got it last year. I was saying that. I'm now on the cusp of being out of the top 10,000. By the end of this week, I will be.
On the AFL Fantasy side of things, though, injuries have been pretty good. I don't think I've actually had to get rid of a player so far this year due to injury until now. And it's all of a sudden just hit like a truck.
Yeah, last week with Tom DeConing was the first one.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the same one with me, but... the only forced one I've had to do all season was when Peatland got it suspended. But besides from that... pretty much in the last 18 months of playing fantasy. Last year, I don't think I had to make one forced one because of an injury. This year, this is the first time I've had to make a forced one.
Actually, I think I can remember last year we did have one. It was Kitty Coleman at the start of the season. AFL Fantasy wouldn't even started yet.
That didn't count.
Yeah.
It was the opening round. But my trades are because Jaden Short's been out and Jason Horne-Francis, I've had to force both of them out.
Yeah.
But the players that I've bought in, as you'll see in the video, are the ones I have bought in.
Okay. So that's pretty much the same. So let's go into the rest of the review for AFL Fantasy for round 10.
And then, oh boy, I had a shocker. Overall, just not a very good week from me. My team has hit a real roadblock in the last couple of weeks. I thought maybe I could get my team to springboard into their season after a couple of decent trades. However, last week I had to make some quick changes in my trades because of Tom DeConing being out. I did pick up Rowan Marshall, which was a very good decision. However, I also picked up James Peatling. I should have gone with my gut and gone Luke Jackson, but I didn't. James Peatling only got 77, which wasn't too bad. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. But other players that really disappointed this week, Matt Roberts and Riley Bice, 70s and 55, not great. Trainer got subbed out, got a 50. In the midfield, Zach Merritt, I don't know. I mean, I guess Essendon all had a bit of a shit game, didn't they? But yeah, not great. 54, can't really love that. Jason Horne-Francis, of course, getting a hamstring wasn't great either, 11. Caleb Daniels hit a wall, he's on 77. And Riley Sanders, after having such a good start to the game and such an easy win, he had so many touches but so many handballs, only finished on 65. That was really disappointing. I was hoping for a little bit better from him, but I guess that's how the cookie crumbles, so to speak. 2,025 points over the week, and the ranking for the round was 38,000. Not good at all. Oh boy, that's not good at all. My overall ranking has dropped. I think I was at 8,000 2 weeks ago. I've now dropped to 14,000. So overall, not great. I'm going to be honest with you. I've had a very poor couple of weeks, and heading into the buys, I'm going to have to make some really big changes to the team, or I could be looking at a 20,000 ranking. Minus outside the top 20,000, which would be pretty poor considering the last few years I've done pretty well. So hopefully I can improve on that. But yeah, just not really that great. I've got a lot of players that I'm pretty happy with, but there's a lot of players in there now that I just have to try and get rid of. And yeah, I was really hoping for players like Max Holmes at the start of the year to have a massive season. He's had a good season, but not as good as I was hoping. So I guess that's Bailey Smith's role that he's taken over, really. But nonetheless, not a very good week from me. But my brother, despite being a lot better than me throughout the majority of the year, only beat me by 4 points over the week. A couple of players that he didn't have great scores. Wangan Miller at 76, you can't really enjoy that. He had O'Harley in the team with a 29, so that's very, very poor. He also had Christian Petrarca with 84. You probably want a little bit better from him. And that's pretty much all he had. He also had Caden Cleary, which, I don't know about that. Why would you have him in the team? The fact that he did beat me looking at that is actually pretty sad on my end. He did have Tristan Cherry, who he did keep his captain, which definitely saved his score. But nonetheless, not a very good week from him either. His rank for the weekend was 37,000, so only just better than mine. And his overall rank has almost dropped outside the top 10,000. I think I remember him saying, he's been mentioning it so many times at the start of the year that he was in like the top 1,000, and now he's nearly dropped outside the top 10,000. So a big fall from grace for him. But let's get to the trades anyway. So my trades this week are Caden Cleary out for Simpson, and I've got rid of Jason Horne-Francis for Andrew Brayshaw. Now, I was thinking of getting rid of Xavier Lindsay. However, I think there's a little bit more price in him. He did go up this week, and I think I want to save that for next week because, of course, next week we start the buys and we get 3 trades per week through the buy rounds. So I want to keep Lindsay for that, to use that one for a really big upgrade on a couple of rookies. Simpson seems like he's got a decent role for the Dockers, playing at halfback, and they do have a very nice buy. They're around 13 buy. They've only got St Kilda with them. So I want to try and stock up on a couple of Freo and St Kilda players over the next couple of weeks if I can. I didn't want to get rid of Jason Horne-Francis, but of course, with the injury, it does seem now he's going to be out for at least a month. So, I mean, you have to get rid of that. Hopefully, when he comes back in, a month or so, his price, he's got a huge break even now, so his price will drop. And maybe we can pick him up in the latter parts of the season, but overall, you just have to get rid of him. And Andrew Brayshaw, like I said, Fremantle's buy is very favourable. He's the best Fremantle player in terms of fantasy this year, so that's why I've gone with him. And I wish I just went with Luke Jackson last week and just held with that one instead of going with James Peatling. That was just dumb of me, but overall, I'm happy with those trades, and I've still got 91k in the kitty, so hopefully I can use that money next week with a Xavier Lindsay trade and upgrade one of my rookie players on my forward line or my midfield probably at this stage. My brother's trades for this week, though, are Riley Sanders out for Kitty Coleman and Jason Horne-Francis out for Josh Dunkley. So Sanders, not really too surprised by that. I've been trying to look to get rid of Sanders for the last couple of weeks. I went for Davidson first, and hopefully Sanders the next 2 or 3 weeks I'm going to get rid of. Kitty Coleman's an interesting choice. Obviously, his first game back over the weekend had a pretty decent performance with 73 points, and we obviously seen the output that he has been able to make in years gone by when he hasn't been injured. However, I'm just a little bit tentative on Kitty Coleman at this stage just because I want to see a couple more weeks from him. But, I mean, he's definitely a player to watch going into the latter parts of the season. 73 in a comeback game after an ACL, I think you can't complain about that. So I'm definitely thinking that that's going to be my trade for Bice or Trainer in the next couple of weeks if Coleman can continue on some good form. And Jason Horne-Francis out for Dunkley. Dunkley has been always a very consistent scorer in AFL Fantasy, so not really too surprised by that change for my brother. So he's probably going to look into the buys because that's something you do have to keep in mind coming up. But finally, guys, let's take a look at the AFL Fantasy ladder for the channel. So there's been a little bit of movement on the top spot over the last couple of weeks. We do have a new leader on the channel. It is Bosch69. Love the name, bro. Tim Plunkett? Oh, bro. You got 2 great names. I love you. He has jumped into the top spot after a really good week. He got 2,273. Jumped over the Cheetah Cubs, who has been sitting in second spot for the last few weeks. Timber Ashworth, unfortunately, is still sitting in second spot. Lenny Johnson was in top spot. He has dropped down to third after he had a better week than me. I can't complain too much. Pub Feed with Sauce has dropped. He's been sitting in 4th spot for the last few weeks. We've been talking about this guy a lot. He was in top spot for a while. He had number 1 spot in round 1 over all of AFL Fantasy, but has dropped down to 4th spot in our league. 2,154. I mean, you take that, so that's not too bad. Now, looking down the ladder at me and my brother. My brother, remember, guys, he was up in the top 4. What was it, a month ago now or something? He's dropped down to 36th. So if you guys are watching this, make sure to leave a comment down below how disappointed you are in him. I'm incredibly disappointed to even have a younger brother at this stage. I've rejected calling him that for quite a while now because that is embarrassing, really. He's dropped from all the way from 4th down to 36th, and that's just terrible. Now, I've done much better. I mean, I'm only 9 spots behind him, so you know we're in a pretty precarious. He's in a pretty precarious position. I am in 45th spot, so I've dropped out to the bottom half of the fucking league. So that's embarrassing from me. Looking at total points, I am 128 points away from my brother. So not exactly a huge difference. Maybe in the buys I can catch up a little bit. I would like to finish in the top 20 for our league, but it's going to be tough at this stage. I mean, it's not exactly a huge margin. I mean, top spot of our league right now is 600 points, 650 points in front of me. So that's a lot, obviously. I don't think I'll be able to catch up to anywhere near that. If I could finish in the top 20, I'd be pretty happy at this stage. Like I said, I want to finish in the top at least. I would love to finish in the top 10,000 this year after a pretty poor, I would even say a month. But right now, I'm not really confident on that. In the league, I'd like to finish in the top 25 at the very least. And my brother probably would be about the same. But guys, that's basically all we have for the review for this week for AFL Fantasy. So with that being said, guys, let's get to our segment that we have, the Overreact / Fair Call. So we haven't had it the last few weeks since my brother hasn't been here, but we're back this week. Just got a couple this week to go through. And these are basically statements that were said in the last couple of weeks. First of all, this is from Kane Corns about Essendon. Will the Bombers be a top 4 team in the next 2 to 3 years? Is that an overreaction or a fair call?
Overreaction.
You don't think they can be in the next 2 to 3 years?
No. I don't think they have the midfield mix there. They could get it with a player like Harley Reid and Zach Butters or whatever, but if they are still reliant on merit, and the last 2 weeks has been pretty horrible when they've lost both, and somehow they beat Sydney, but
yeah,
the week before they could have lost that. To be honest, if that went another 10 minutes, they probably lose that game, Essendon. Yeah. And last week against the Dogs, they didn't show up. Yeah. And
I think the issue with Essendon right now is Nate Caddy, yes, is their future forward, but they do. I mean, Kako really hasn't came on. I mean, I think he's going to be a star, but he hasn't really came on just yet. To say the next 2 to 3 years.
I think 2 years is very, like, if you say 5 years, I think yeah, probably, but obviously you got to think short term. Do you think Kako needs to spell in the VFL?
I do a little bit. I think that he's been chucked in and just expected to be a star. And sometimes players just come onto the scene and they're great. But then sometimes players need to get some confidence in the VFL. And he just hasn't done a lot yet. And I mean, I think he's going to be a great player. He's shown signs, but he hasn't been... I mean, has he kicked more than 2 goals in a game yet? I don't think he has.
That's the thing, is that, like, he hasn't had that, say, like... rookies this year. He hasn't had that like that. You're not expecting him to have like a Murphy Reid to kick 4 goals in a matter of a 15-minute period. Yeah. You're not wanting that. But you're wanting him to have at least one game so far, just see a glimpse of it. And just putting him straight in the AFL and just expecting him to do it, it's like, he's putting a lot of pressure on him.
Yeah, I feel like he's under a lot of pressure so early on. Like, we even saw, like, Nate Caddy this year's came on and had some good signs, but he spent a lot of time last year in the VFL before he got his real shot. I think that they're relying too much on him. Maybe it's because they don't have a lot of small forward options. Maybe that's the issue. But I do agree with you that they probably just need to give him a spot in the VFL just for a week or two, just to give him a little bit of a spell. Maybe even give him a break. Maybe even give him a week in the VFL before the bye, and then give him a week off after the bye. Maybe a 3-week period of maybe the VFL for 2 weeks or either side of the bye. And if he does perform well, then bring him back in. If he doesn't, it's not all the end of the world. You got to he's going to have a 10, 15-year career. Yeah. I don't think there's definitely signs there, but I think that he's just so pressured so much. Because at the start of, like, in the pre-season, he burst onto the scene. Everyone thought he was going to maybe even be a rising star. But he hasn't really came on yet, and I think there's a lot of pressure on him. And I think maybe he does need a week or two in the VFL just to get him started, get him some confidence, because it doesn't really seem like he's got a lot of confidence right now.
Yeah, so, and he's obviously, because of the pressure the talent he showed, the defenders that are on him, he's getting a pretty good.
He's getting pretty much the best small defender in the team.
Because the fact is that they don't have any. So the fact is that they don't have any small forwards. They've got a Menzies who's in and out of the team. They've got. I think Langford being out hasn't helped because I think that would give him a bit of an out, and Peter Wright not being there through the start of the season, giving him a bit.
I mean, their best forward.
Point.
Yeah.
Because Caddy's, yes, he's a good player, but he's also a young player. He's a good player, but he's a young player. He's going to have those ups and downs. So having both of those, Caddy and him, at the start of the season with no Peter Wright, no Langford, it's pretty good that where they are on the ladder, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that maybe a little bit of a spell in the VFL for a fortnight. Give him a go. Just let him have it. He's going to be a great player.
Yeah.
So I think
we're not questioning that.
Yeah, fucking, I'm not going to start. Look, I mean, he's fucking clearly unfit. He's clearly needs a stint in the VAFA. He doesn't even deserve to be in the VFL. And I think I may have seen him on Instagram post a picture next to a woman at a restaurant. I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to suspect anything, but I also think that Isaac Kako may need to be suspended.
Yeah.
Just a quick thought there. Fucking anyway. And the other question I wanted to bring up that was brought up over the last week was Oscar Allen should sit out the remainder of the season if he's not. Well, because at the moment he hasn't made his decision about where he wants to go. It seems very likely he's going to be leaving. Do you think he should sit out the rest of the year?
No, I think that's an overreaction. I think he's still their best forward. I still believe that.
People in the comments weren't very impressed with you.
I said that a couple weeks ago, and I still believe it. And I think, even though that he didn't have the best game against the Saints, I think that game he played was his best one he played all year.
Well, I mean, compared to shoveling shit for the last 8 weeks, I mean, it's not very hard to have beaten that record.
I just think, just to have him down there as the vocal point for the next 10, 12 weeks of the season, just let it go. And when he leaves, he's been a servant for that club. He's been the captain, for God's sake. And I'm sorry, but he's been a better... I think he should... I don't know why the hell Duggan's the captain as well. I don't know.
Who do you think?
Do anything.
Who do you think should be the captain of the club? Going forward. I mean, I agree with you. I don't think Liam Duggan does anything. When's the last time?
I think it should have been McGovern for a long time. But that's just.
I feel like personally, it should be Brady Hoff. I think that he should be the guy.
He might be next year because let's be honest, I think they would like to give it to this is 3 years down the track. They probably would have given it to Harley Reid if he'd stay, but he's not going to stay in 3 years. But I think
I personally think Brady Hoff should be the next captain. From what I tell, he seems like their leader down back when he's there. Liam Duggan looks like the most quietest person I've ever met. I've never seen him. I've never seen him like scream on the field. Never seen him. I never see his mouth fucking move. I'd be interested to see if they mic'd him up. When they mic up players, I feel like Liam Duggan does nothing.
Like I said, I don't know why he's the captain. We're just sitting here on the chair here just talking.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happens over in Perth, but
What does he do? It doesn't seem like he does anything. I mean, when people get fucking up, their back up when what was it? David Teague didn't do anything in the coach's box or whatever. I feel like he's the David Teague of captains. He doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I don't know why Liam Duggan's the captain of the club, and I personally think if they're going to go with someone, it'd be him. Maybe Jake Waterman would be an option as a forward, but I don't know.
I don't think
Tim Kelly probably would have been the choice 3 years ago, but now he's just not good enough.
It's hard to say because they haven't such a... Well, yes, they have a young list, but there's no one that's in that period, that bracket, that I'm screaming at that that's the leader of that club.
Yeah.
Because...
Would you maybe go with Jack Graham?
That's... Yeah, you could. They could do a Crows in after 2 years that the Crows, Dawson became captain.
I think it was only a year, wasn't it? He wouldn't have been there
for a year, actually. Yeah, they could do that, or Liam Baker, because he is a very courageous player, so they could possibly do it. Be with them.
They've been there with success as well, which could help.
Those two could be options. But I don't know why Liam Duggan's the captain, and Oscar Allen. I'm not saying that he's not. I don't know why he's the captain either. Really, he doesn't scream to me like he's the that sort of player.
Well, I mean, the last 2 months has probably proved he's not really screaming out captain.
You're not screaming out a captain if you're having coffee with other coaches. I'm just saying.
When you're a player uncontracted that wants to leave. I mean, I agree with you. So that's basically all of that segment. Let's get to the fan favourite segment of the episode, the final segment of today's episode. The Flog of the Week is back. And oh boy, I've talked to you about this already off air because that sounds very professional off air sort of stuff. But
You're very excited about this one.
I was very excited about this one because I think this has the potential. We've had a few the last couple of weeks, potential Flog of the Years. I think this one has a potential of it because I think there's still some stuff to come out of this.
I think, it's been brewing for the last month or so, really.
Yeah, I think it has been brewing for the last couple of weeks at the very least. So, the Flog of the Week this week is going to St Kilda champion, now media pundit, you would say, on Channel 7 now, Nick Riewoldt. So, Nick Riewoldt, I mean, I think most people would see him as a bit of a sook no matter what. I think he's always been a bit of a sook.
They've always had the reputation, the Riewoldt, as being sooks.
Yeah, never smiling, never whatever. Yeah, him and Jack. I mean, I think Jack's a little bit more... both of them in the media now, I like Jack Riewoldt a lot more. I'll tell you that right now.
He shows more bias, I think, than Nick Riewoldt does towards...
Well, I mean, it's very hard to be biased to St Kilda when they're losing every week.
Well, isn't he used to that? Because
you'd think so, too.
They didn't do anything when he was around.
Yeah. Anyway, the reason why he's got the Flog of the Week this week is because we'll set the scene. We'll set the scene. Okay, we'll paint the picture. So the way this started was Nick Riewoldt made some very strong criticism regarding Jamarra Ugle-Hagan. I'll try and find the exact quote. He basically said that the Bulldogs should look at their future without a former number one pick, especially with the light of his social media scrutiny. He's done a lot of stuff about Jamarra. That's not about him. But then Jamarra's response was taking a savage response to Nick Riewoldt by changing his profile picture on Instagram to an X-rated photo of the St Kilda great. This was a photo that was taken, I think, 10 or 15 years ago. He sent him, I think it was was it a nude or something that was nearly a nude to a person? I think it was a woman.
It was X-rated.
It was X-rated. Just tell us what the fuck it was. I mean, fuck me. Anyway. Yeah. So he did that, and that's basically where it's at. Now, Daniel Gorringe made a video on it. It's like he always does. He makes his funny little video, and he made a couple of jokes about it, making fun of the whole situation, and that's where it's at. Now, apparently, Nick didn't like that at all, of Daniel Gorringe doing that, and to the point where he got his legal team to tell Dan Gorringe to remove the post. I'm sorry, have you got the smallest balls in the fucking planet, Nick? Get over it. It was a little joke. People would have forgot about it 2 days later. Who cares? Anyway, I didn't care about it after that. But then apparently, then Dan Gorringe brought it up on his podcast. He said that we can't talk about Nick anymore because his legal team contacted me to remove the post. And he even brought up the point, it's like, if Nick just reached out to me, I would have removed it myself. You didn't have to get your legal team involved. But anyway, he seemed that...
like that big of a deal to be bringing legal.
Yeah. Now, this was in... I went and looked back and looked at it. This was a couple of weeks ago in his round 8 review video, podcast episode. Now, if you go about 5 minutes in, he starts talking about it if you guys want to check it out. But at that point, it kind of felt like he removed the post. The general vibe I got from it was he just wanted to move on. That was it. He just said, okay, I don't want to... He didn't say it, but it felt like it was like, okay, we removed the post. You're a bit of a wanker for getting legal involved. Let's move on. Made a bit of a joke about it because that's his podcast. It's about football, having a bit of a laugh about it. Ollie Gill's on the show and fucking is a St Kilda employee. Imagine how fucking shitty he feels. Like, oh my God, Nick, can you stop fucking getting over my boss? Like, fuck off, bro. Leave it be. Anyway, so then it comes to Monday's episode, and apparently Nick has not stopped having a whinge about this. So, because he mentioned it in his podcast, Dan, he got a few other people that were close to Nick Riewoldt must have told Nick, or someone must have heard over it, that knows Nick very well. And instead of just letting it go or just not having an issue with it, just sweep it under the rug because literally no one cares. Get over it.
After 3 weeks, we've kind of got
I didn't even know about. I wouldn't have even known about it.
Yeah.
All right, if Nick didn't have a go about this. But then Nick Riewoldt apparently gets his friends and his legal team again to contact Dan Gorringe to stop talking about this situation anymore on the podcast. How much of a fucking sook do you have to be to get a legal team or your team, I can't believe he has a fucking team, bro. You're a fucking person who works in the media. Why do you have a team for anything? Fuck me. Anyway, the fact that you have to get someone from your side at your team to fucking message some guy who does a podcast to say, can you stop talking about me, please? I don't like it. Hey, if you don't want X-rated photos to circulate around about you, don't fucking send them to people. All right? I'm sorry. Your issue should be with Jamara, which, by the way, I think that's pretty funny. Who gives a fuck? Jamara can do whatever the fuck. I mean, I don't...
Well, he's not even around anymore. Yeah.
He's not even around anymore. Who cares? But I just don't think that... It doesn't really matter. I think no one gives a fuck, bro. I mean, I didn't even know it happened. All right? Jamara... How many people follow Jamara? Not a lot. I mean, I couldn't think it's more than 50,000. Like, I couldn't, seriously.
Wouldn't be, surely.
I mean, most people who are following him are probably media people trying to wait for his next fucking post to have another whinge about. And that's another thing as well. Your job, Nick Riewoldt, now is to sit there in the media and scrutinise people. That's what your job is. Literally, your co-host, Kane Corns, does it the most on the every fucking minute. And someone scrutinises you, not even scrutinises, jokes about you, and you sit there and have a fucking cry.
Yeah.
To your legal team, bro. Get over yourself, you absolute flog. Oh my god. So
when's their legal team come to contact us then?
surely we're too fucking. If he actually, no way in hell he fucking contacts us. We're fucking nothing. We are literally not even
Get us on the map.
Yeah, maybe get us on the map. Please, Nick. Please reach out to us. But overall, I mean, I think overall, Nick Dan Gorringe's response. Did you hear it at the end of the episode, like after the little bit of? Because Ollie Gill goes like, look, I don't have any involvement in this. I still work with St Kilda. He's one of my favourite players, and he basically, I don't know what he said. He fucking bleeped it out, but he called him he called him a pussy. He's like, he said, fucking, I'm gonna keep on talking about you. Get over it. Yeah. He didn't even say anything. Literally didn't say anything about you. Didn't say anything like. Imagine if he turned around and called him like, oh, you got a small cock or something. Maybe that's the issue. I didn't see the picture. Maybe that's the issue for you, Nick. Like, get over yourself. I'm saying much more than what you did. And if you come to us and fucking, he won't ever go at us. He won't ever fucking see it. But I just think it's so fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, get over it. Oh my god. And then, that's what capped it off for me. On fucking so Nick Riewoldt does that show on, what is it? Channel 7. Monday, the Agenda Setters. Like, fucking get over yourself. Anyway, on the Agenda Setters, this is the worst thing of all. I think this is the worst. On the Agenda Setters, Nick Riewoldt said, the lid is officially off for the Western Bulldogs. Bro, you can't say those words. That is not allowed. That is literally the statement that fucking Dan Gorringe uses.
Every time Carlton win.
Every time Carlton wins, he says lids are off. I feel like that's a little jibe at him.
Yeah,
I think that's a little bit.
Clearly was.
I think that was a little fucking yeah.
Like,
yeah, Dan, I'm listening to your podcast, bro. You come my legal team.
Should Dan go get his legal team to say that, hey.
Yeah, exactly. He should say, hey, that's trademarked by the Dan Does Footy Empire. Fucking. I saw this and I was like, no way.
That's cool.
That's what I thought. That's the worst part of all of this, really.
Oh, it's hilarious.
You can't. No, that's his trademark. You can't use that. No, you can say I don't know. You got to say something different than that. You got to say like, oh my god, this team's.
They're their prelim idol.
Yeah, they've got. Even if Nick Riewoldt came out and said they've got the biggest aura in the AFL, I would have liked that more than you saying the lid is off the Western Bulldogs, bro. You can't say that. No, that is not allowed. If you're gonna have a sook and call legal about someone making a funny video, you can't then use their trademark in your fucking shitty TV show. No, not allowed. Unfair.
That was Monday. Their podcast was.
That was Monday night. He made that. That was
so
after the podcast episode.
Yeah,
that's what I think. It was probably. It may have been premeditated.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just talking out my ass. I doubt that was premeditated. But if it was, you're an absolute sook. You think it was?
I think it was.
Premeditated.
He doesn't seem like a guy that would say that.
True.
The lid is off. I thought.
That does seem a little bit premeditated.
That's not a Nick Riewoldt thing to say, I don't think.
Yeah, I think you may be right. It doesn't seem like... It seems like he would have just started... I think he's like saying that through gritted teeth. Like he's gripping his fucking pants under his fucking shit, under the table, just going, fucking, this is for you, dude, you cunt. He's probably, in between the breaks at Channel 7, he's probably messaging his legal team going, message Dan Gorringe to watch the episode. Yeah, I'm going to get him here.
Someone probably said it to Dan by now.
Oh, fucking ridiculous. Anyway, that's basically the flog of the week this week, guys. Go on to Nick Riewoldt because, oh my God, what a sook. Fucking get over it. I think that it's up there in a nomination, I think, so far. Now, the reason why I think this could keep on going is because Dan Gorringe did say in the podcast, I'm going to keep talking about him if this keeps going forward. I don't think it is either. And I think it should keep on going because it's fucking hilarious. Nick Rewalt needs to fucking get over it, man.
Keep going with it.
Exactly. Anyway, guys, that's basically what we got for this episode of the podcast. Episode 114. Very long episode, this one. My brother said, who cares? No one listens to it, so we can fucking let it keep going. But anyway, I think this one would have gone for nearly an hour and a half. So you guys, people who are listening and actually bothered, people who gave a fuck about us, thanks for watching an hour and a half of us rambling about footy. If you did enjoy it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe over on YouTube. Make sure to follow us over on Spotify and make sure to leave us 5 stars because I asked really nicely. And overall, like we said at the start of the episode, make sure to check in on your mates. It's the silent killer, as you would say, and always make sure to check in because you never really know how people are going. So yeah, I think that's overall a good message to leave us on. Yeah, and if you think that's kind of counterintuitive after bagging on Nick Rewalt for the last 10 minutes, I'm not that much of a fucking sook. But anyway, thanks for listening, guys. We'll catch you all next week.
Yeah, checking in, mates.